Hey guys, what's up? Hope everybody's doing fine. This is Shift Break with Alex and Nick. After a very long break, we are finally back with F1 this weekend at Miami Grand Prix. Alex, how you doing, man?
I'm doing great. Excited for this weekend. Driving you crazy with this 3 weeks wait in between every race, it seems now. We will probably have to wait again after Miami, but I guess we just have to make it count as they go.
Yeah, beggars cannot be choosers, I guess. So that's how it is. We are now finally back with Miami Grand Prix, which has some good races in past, and I'm expecting a banger this weekend. What are your expectations like, Alex?
Well, I'm hoping that this period of waiting has allowed certain adjustments, maybe improvements on all the other teams besides Mercedes. I'm hoping for a much more tighter competitive race where it's not just the top two teams and then the rest are just way behind. So very curious for sure.
Talking about tighter races, all the team managements and FIA had come together in April, and they have finally decided to make something changes in the rules and regulations. There are six rules changes which are going to get implemented. So, as we were talking about it offline, this major changes has given some hope, if not excitement, because there was so much of dilemmas in the current rules and regulations of 2026. And now that we see that there are some changes, maybe some teams might take some advantage over it. What do you think?
Yeah, I think they are positive changes. The question is, are they sufficient changes? That's what we will have to wait and see in Miami. But I'm hoping that the battery usage, especially going out of the corners, is going to make a big difference where the drivers don't feel like they have to really slow down before every corner and then brake and then just think about recharging, where they can actually feel like more intuitive than they have been feeling the first three races.
How did we get here, first of all? Like in 2026, the rule changes were made this season for implementing a 50-50 dilemma between the battery and the engine power supplies. So there were some instances in the first three races which brought us to this situation where now they are forced into a dilemma where they have to make few changes. And following are the changes. I will put it out on the screen too. The first major change is the capacity of the battery, which was supposed to be 9 megajoules, is now going to be changed to 6 megajoules. And this is mostly for qualifying. The reason for it was as simple that around 9 megajoules is what was needed for, the current to flow into the system. And the maximum this current battery could do was 4 megajoules. So to compensate that, you had to charge and recharge again and again. That's why
Correct.
the battery deficiency was going on. And
Mm-hmm.
now, an intermediate solution out of this discussion is now they're raising it to 6 megajoules. So it is going to maybe help it or maybe not. The only time will tell, but they're trying to do something out of it.
Right.
So the second one which we have is the speed differential. This came up across because of the Berman incident. What had happened is when things in straights, when a car passes another one, they uses their entire battery life, and now they are in a situation where they have around loss of 500 horsepower after completely instantaneously they lose around 500 horsepower. But once this state is attained, the other car who's still deploying energy comes from behind is on horsepower than the current car which has already depleted its battery, right?
Mm-hmm.
So because of this there is a differential in speed in straights, and this can cause really scary incidences, and it's a huge safety concern which we saw for Berman crash. This was due to the super clipping. So now the super clipping is going to be changed from 250 kilovolts to 300 kilovolts. So it is supposed to be a little bit of improvement of having these kind of problems get reduced. So this
Yeah,
is what the FIA is trying to implement to reduce this kind of safety concerns.
correct.
The third one is very critical. I'll tell you why. Because if I'll just bring you back to the qualification of Chinese Grand Prix, Charles Leclerc was on a fast lap, and and in all the sectors he was dominating. On the last sector, on the last corner, you remember there was an incident where he kind of lost his balance. He went a little bit in the gravel,
Right.
and that moment, I did a little bit of research to understand what happened over there. So, according to the theory, what had happened is right now there is a situation called as algorithm chip, which is used, that is ECU. They help in actually maintaining the throttle. So for a driver to be full-fledged out there needs
Mhm.
almost 98% of throttle or above for minimum of 1 second. When he went off that track at that time, the instantaneously the algorithm chip which was there couldn't differentiate between a driving error or an actual fault which was going on. So it instantaneously cut off the power, directly made it zero. So
I see.
from there on, the whatever the stretch Charles was covering was of no high power. He did not have any pace. So because of that, he lost so much of time, and he was fourth in qualification. But his first two sectors were taken in account. He was way ahead of Kimi Antonelli. So to consider this as a huge problem in qualification, they have implemented the third changes, or a small change which they're going to have is increasing drivers' right foot instincts. That is like for the same proposition is now they're going to let the driver take over, not the algorithm as such. So it will be the more the instinct of the driver to see how much of a throttle can he achieve. So
Okay.
that was the third change. The fourth change which they have introduced is similar to the third one, is to reduce the algorithm involvement. Now they want to go basically to the driver's instinct, which previously it was. So the algorithm was like in a situation of trying to determine what was your previous lap pace, and then it was telling the driver to make some adjustments on the steering wheel. Now that is not going to happen anymore, or it is going to get reduced a little bit, and it is going to take the driver's instinct in its own to manage its pace throughout the lap. So it is little bit of like how it was last year.
Hmm.
The fifth and the sixth changes are actually the relevant one according to me. The fifth change is about the deployment of active arrow, the boost mode, which we know. The
Like
active arrow
DRS, right?
was, yeah. So they had a specific zones throughout the circuit where particular sector only had this active arrow where you could deploy it. But now that has been changed, and given the driver has been given the permission of using it wherever he wants it. So now it is
Okay.
going to be almost like he has the power of when he wants to deploy it. So I feel this might be tricky, but maybe something to look forward for in Miami Grand Prix. It can be a safety concern, but it might even make it interesting. So I'm really looking forward for this one. You know that Macarena ring, which the DRS flap, which Ferrari had, remember?
Yes. The flip.
So that the flip, Macarena flip, which they are calling it, that increases the active arrow to the maximum it can generate. So
Yeah.
Ferrari is going to bring that in Miami. That's what has been predicted. But guess which else other team has even tried to deploy this in testing? And that is Red Bull. So I'm let's see how things go for that. The last one was the fuel flow limit. This is mostly to do with 2027 direct changes for regulations. It is by increasing the combustion power rather than increasing the battery size. So they want to increase the combustion power of the engine more compared to the output what the battery is giving. So this would rather be implemented in 2027.
Yeah, like I said earlier, it depends because these are positives for sure, but the extent of effect they will have, we will have to see in Miami. I'm hoping, like you mentioned with the active arrow that's more in the driver's hands, that this is going to add a more X factor to the race because Now you're giving into the driver's instincts when exactly they want to overtake. I also want to see the time difference. How many seconds are drivers going to be able to win back with these minor battery changes?
Let me rephrase it. All these changes will majorly reduce the speed, I feel, especially when you're changing it from 9 megajoules to 6 megajoules in qualifying. The
Mm-hmm.
speed will change. For that, they had the counter change is the super clipping has been increased from 250 to 300.
Well, if it reduces but makes it more competitive, are people going to be more happy because it's more equal, or are people going to be more upset because it looks slower and just not as entertaining? We will have to
At
see.
least it's not going to be fake, right?
I don't know, man. I think some people will always have a bone to pick. If not this, then something else. Fake racing or not, it's still racing. I'm just grateful, waiting for a month for this race. I'm just grateful to actually see F1. So, as people would predict, Mercedes is clear on top. Kimi Antonelli has 2 out of these 3 wins and then shares 1 win with Russell. Most cars kind of slow behind, but our top 10 is looking like Kimi, Russell. We have then the Ferraris in Charles, Lewis, and then we have the McLarens in Norris, Piastri. Behrman is in 7th, Gasly is in 8th, and then we got Max in 9th, just ahead of Leon Lawson by 2 points. I am predicting it's still going to look like Mercedes dominating, with Ferrari being close second. But after last race, it was definitely a much needed positive improvement from McLaren. They were way more competitive. So I was very glad to see Oscar getting a podium. Lando also did better, but Oscar was for sure a breath of fresh air added into the mix. So constructors, obviously Mercedes, we got Ferrari, McLaren, and then we got Haas, Alpine, and Red Bull. In constructors, we got 45 points between Mercedes and Ferrari. Between Kimi and Russell, it's 9 points. It's nothing. So, if George wins, he can easily go on top. It's neck and neck.
Let's see what we have predicted for the weekend.
Yep.
Mind you, this is a sprint weekend, but we will just concentrate on the main race and let the sprint race be just for fun.
All right.
So the first section is the top qualifiers, and the qualifiers I mean is the main race and not the sprint qualifiers. So we will divide this again, and now that we know that Alex has also kickstarted his campaign and he's kind of leading it.
Let's hear
So
it.
the first segment, and so my top 3 qualifiers for the main race would be, I believe Charles is going to out qualify everybody, and he's going to be 1. Number 2
Okay.
is going to be Russell, and number 3 is going to be Kimi.
So Leclerc, Russell, Kimi.
Yeah. What about you?
Well, based off the last race, I was going to have a McLaren in there. So I had Russell 1, I had Leclerc 2nd, and 3rd I had Piastri.
Okay, that's good. We are on different scale.
I feel Kimi. I just have a feeling that Kimi might have a few issues in qualifying. Yeah.
So the next segment is the race dominators. Alex, you go first with your 3 podiums.
3 podiums. I think the winner of this race will be Russell. I think Kimi will work up to 2nd, and 3rd I will have Charles.
Okay, so that is Russell, Kimi, and Charles, right?
Correct. I think Piastri will drop off a little bit. I think the Ferrari is slightly quicker than the McLaren. And I think Russell really has, I think, a bit of a chip on his shoulder after the past 2 races. Like, I think he'll be very aggressive to trying to win this one.
But
Hopefully there are a few twists and turns this weekend. Maybe the
So
rain.
I have gone for something. Yeah. Oh, yeah. The rain is becoming a big spoiler. So the news flash is that the race might even get cancelled because of huge storms.
I mean, if there's a bit of rain, both qualifying and or during the main race, that definitely can make things more interesting for sure.
So talking about the rain, this is my race dominators. I believe Russell is going to be one again, two is going to be Charles. But because the rain is going to be there on the circuit and new Macarena wing, I think Max Verstappen is going to be at three.
All right.
I can at least have optimism. Come on, that he can do something about it.
I think we never know.
Hmm.
Stranger things has happened. That's for sure. So we'll see how Max will be tuned up for this race.
So, who do you think is going to screw up in Latifi movement?
When there's rain, there it could be any name out of the hat.
Hmm.
But I gotta keep consistency. This time around, it is tricky. But even though I really like him, I feel Pierre Gasly might have an accident. Hopefully nothing like bad like in the Behrman case, but just have some mishap.
We don't wish anything wrong to anybody, and just for fun, right? Mine is a little controversial, and I want to make it spicy. So here we go. So the fact is, I believe Kimi Antonelli is going to crumble in pressure, and he's going to do something stupid. Oh yeah, his crash is going to be very detrimental, or his mishap in the race would result in some kind of changes. So that's my Latifi moment.
I feel like that's a really good guess. Because I mean, we still got to remind ourselves that he is still so young and inexperienced. Like this is a very new situation he's found himself in.
True.
And he's bound to make mistakes. So you might be onto something. Yeah, I think he can easily get overexcited or aggressive and, kind of hit the wall or go off a little bit. I can see it. I just don't know if it will be this weekend. I mean, you'd be happy if it happens because, hey, you'll get it right.
Yeah, I really wish, to be really fair, besides the prediction, I really wish somebody else from Mercedes wins this week to just spice it up and get something, get going for everybody. But there is very limited chance for that, I guess, because Mercedes has really mapped it out for this season, I guess. I am excited to see because McLaren is also determining that they are into it, and a lot of improvements in the Red Bull car. They have decreased their overall weight also of the car, so that might even contribute to a little bit of gain in speed, I guess. They're trying to do a little bit of R&D of introducing different rear wings. I am really optimistic. Whereas Ferrari is, I hope they don't do Ferrari and they do something incredible. And maybe Lewis or Charles wins. It would be also a wonderful surprise.
Well, yeah, I hope for both Williams and Red Bull that they were able to shed some weight. I think those were massive issues for them.
Yeah.
Will Aston Martin have figured out some things with Honda and a bit new organizational changes? We'll see.
No, they have. Even if I have to predict before the race, I would easily predict this. No, because they are just going to be in this kind of loophole this season and maybe even start of the next season. Because they have fundamental issues with the car where they are not being able to produce that much of power from the engine and the battery optimization. So that is going to be a learning procedure for the entire season, actually.
Yeah, seems like they're going to battle it out with Audi in the bottom two places.
So besides that, I hope everybody is having fun, and thank you to all the subscribers who have been supporting us, and I hope we keep on delivering this kind of content where you guys enjoy. And that's it from us. This is Shift Break with Alex and Nick.
See ya.